All right, everyone. It's time to pucker up those lips and blow on that horn of Gondor. That's right. Because guess what? We just had 3 episodes of Rings of Power.
3 episodes.
I know. I was like, whoa, Bezos. Can't we slow the roll? And he's like, that's not what you want. I know what you want.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
And I said, but can't we slow down our relationship? Can't we pace things out? And no.
I'm going on an adventure.
And I'm like, all right. But what size episodes are we going to get here? I mean, 40 minutes? And they're like, no.
It comes in pints.
And I was like, okay. That was 3 hours and 28 minutes of time in Middle Earth. And, yeah, I'm just telling you. Second time I watched them through, I sat on the back porch.
Long bottom leaf.
And rocked.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, dude. The right way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, did you did you do it the night of, or did you wait like a reasonable adult and watch the 3 episodes later in the day?
I watched the first episode on my iPad while I sat for 3 hours at a car mechanic.
Oof.
And then when everyone went to sleep Thursday night, I watched the other 2. I just sat down and did it. I went back and forth from like after that first episode, I was like, oh, I like what's going on here.
Yeah.
This got better. And then episode 2 goes down. And I'm like, yowza. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. And the moment Galadriel has the dream or vision of everyone's favorite Bannerman getting pierced by a tree and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, I know where we're going, and I am down for the ride. So I was
foreshadowing. You know, Tolkien was a foreshadower, and people are like, hey, don't be spoiling Rings of Power. What's going to happen? Tolkien did it throughout the entire text until you get there. You're like, dang, Gandalf spoiled it back in Shadow of the Past. And yeah. I'm kind of feeling it. I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah, and you also have to remember sometimes with Lord of the Rings, like if you just read the summary of what happened in the previous book, it's got spoilers in it. Like you were like, I thought this is like you know how they're like previously on, and then it's like everything that's happened in 5 seasons of a show that just happens to play out this episode, and you're like, would anyone have remembered this if they hadn't just watched this? But also now that you've lined these random scenes up together, I know what's coming. Tolkien writes, they just seemed like someone was like, could you just give everyone a heads up of where we are in the story? And so he wrote it without thinking. And then it was just like, let me tell you some stuff that you haven't put together yet.
He was like, hey, you just finished the 2 towers. We're about to go to the Return of the King when Aragorn shows up, retakes the throne, and Sauron's defeated. You're like, dude, what the heck?
What do you mean? I thought Sam was separated from Frodo, and
Frodo's dead. What are you talking about? This can't happen.
He's been stuck by a snake. No, I mean not a spider. What's going on? I just remember the first time I read Lord of the Rings, where and then I would try to talk to friends, and I was like, the one with the spider in it, and they just look at you like, what the hell? What do you mean the spider? This is not a spider trip. It might take a spider form, but this is like an age old beast spawned. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I was speaking at a conference, like when I was like 23.
Yeah.
And the sound guys for this conference and I were hanging out in the hot tub smoking cigars and had some bourbon. And I had like read Lord of the Rings again for the first time in forever. Like as an adult,
Right.
over 23 or whatever counts as. And I was like, yeah, I dig the movies, but like I hadn't read it in forever. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I liked it because I had like made a reference to something in like one of my talks,
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, the thing about the book is like I don't get as creeped out, when that spider pops out. And the guy was just like, what do you mean spider?
He said, "What you know about Ungoliant?"
Yeah, it turned into like this whole thing, and I was like, so Gandalf is like a immortal being, and they're like, what? You got it, and they start like classifying things, and I was like, no wonder this inspired D&D, because they were like 1d20 from a whole quest.
Yeah, you basically got music nerded. Like it's when you're like, dude, yeah, I'm super into punk, and they're like, that's not punk, that's folk punk, which is a subset of grunge, and you're like, what's happening right now?
You're like, I don't know about your subset of what sets. Okay, now before we jump in, I want to hear about you because you just gave a paper online part of Big Tolkien event.
Yeah.
So what was up with that?
So this weekend was Oxenmoot, and Oxenmoot happens every year in Oxford. The Tolkien Society puts it on, and they do it right around the anniversary of Tolkien's passing, which is today. So this is a great day that we're streaming. 51 years ago today, Tolkien passed in 1973. And every year they kind of do this conference where they bring together fans that do panels for Rings of Power and TV shows and adaptations and D&D, or there's like different reading groups that come together, or people from all over the world who are like, hey, we hang out on the internet, let's get together. And then there's academic papers, and so I ended up presenting a paper on evaluating bad theology and in Tolkien studies, and then making a case for the ethical priority of religious diversity. And so in Tolkien studies, so I took down, attempted to take down three, pretty famous Tolkien theologians, and said, yeah, I took Leah Robinson's criteria, and I was like, these guys are actually pretty bad. And then I was like, who's not bad? John Tatamino. And you know what we should do? Take his framework, and we should put it into our theological approach to Tolkien studies.
Ooh. Well, and John Tatamino and Leon Robinson will both be hanging out with us at Theology Beer Camp.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now, and what was the reception like?
I watched, so it was on Zoom, and I saw there's probably like around 60 attendees, which is probably the most attendees I've ever had at any of like paper thing that I've done. And so I don't have the chat up, but I can see the notifications like in the top left-hand corner. And it's like probably within 15 minutes, it's like 99 plus, because it's a pretty hot topic, but overall really positive. And people messaged me, and I got to talk to people, and everyone was like, yeah, I'm digging this. Like, I didn't know that there were people who could be like Christians and not send people to hell, because they don't believe in the right things. And also translate that to Tolkien and don't treat Tolkien like he's the Lord of the Rings, like it's the infallible word of God. It's just the it's just the Tolkien inspired word,
Well, this past week, Robert Wright put out our podcast on his podcast feed, and
that's
the comments were very entertaining. Where it's just like, he seems like he really is a Christian, but I don't know this kind, and I'm just not sure about. I'm not sure about if there's anyone else that thinks this way. Yeah, and I'm always surprised because I just want to be like, no, like 30% of the Christians in America are like this. This is just like there's That's like more than all the other world religions in America. There are more Christians in America that are like open and affirming, love climate change, care about other religious traditions being awesome, and are like down for social justice than there are all the other world religions combined. It's just the cray-crays publicity chain is just
Off
all
the charts.
Yeah, it's all about that bass.
Lots of treble, unfortunately.
Ear-piercing treble. Like the kind that Eru Iluvatar would be like, whoa! Whoa!
Ooh, that single note comes out, treble, and he's like, hey.
Yeah, I really feel like a Maiar is getting out of hand right now. I really hope somebody takes them out like Adar with a crown that previously held Cimmerils in it turned upside down.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
Then there's a small little shout out to the film version of Venom and poor old lady and her horse meet a symbiote suit of a really angry Maiar who spent a lot of time with his little crafting buddies and is kind of angry. And okay, so the prologue, right, for episode 1.
Yeah.
When the second time I watched it with my son Elgin because he was at school the first time I watched it, but I didn't lie to him. I told him, "No, I've already watched it." But it's okay. I'm going to talk about it with Nick. So I got to watch it more than once. And he was like, "I really feel like season 1 would have been better if this was just the beginning, like if this happened in the first season sometime." And I was like, "That's because you haven't watched first season 5 times, Elgin." Like a lot of the first season, you start getting all your suspicions after the reveal, and each time you watch, Sauron's got like he's way more sus each time, but it's like creepy smart sus where you're like, oh really, and you don't get it. Like if you had just saw this prologue at this point, you'd be like, I don't know. I mean, this guy doesn't seem like he's thought things through here. Like if I was sitting there, if I was Adar, I would have had to pull him aside and be like, Sauron, look, you're being a little needy. All right. You're being a bit demanding. And if you want people to follow you, you're going to have to like not pitch a lot of y'all are going to die. Not me, of course.
He pulled the Lord Farquaad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly the vibe. Like if it was a cartoon, it was very Lord Farquaad. And except that Farquaad never had like the black veins pop out while talking. But yeah. No, I love the prologue, the long prologue. It was great. Followed by an even more awesome music and like the moving around of the sand and stuff. But it was interesting how Elgin was like, I think the first thing would have been better if it was not if it was a reveal to everyone else and you saw him getting played, but not to us.
Yeah. I get what he's saying, but I was talking to Kelly, my wife, and we were talking about shows that just kind of start off boring. So she's really into Sarah J. Maas, for those of you who don't know, is a very famous fantasy author right now. And she's starting the Throne of Glass series. And she was like, the first book's okay. And she kind of felt that way about the first ACOTAR book. And I was like, that's just kind of how the first book goes. It lays everything out. And it's only when you like return, like after we watch season 2 and we do a whole watch through, it's setting up everything. And I know that you said you've watched it 5 times. So I think you probably have more of those things picked out where you're seeing where the threads are, leading to. But yeah, it's tough. But I'm a fan of that stuff. Like when it comes, big Dragon Ball Z guy, the episode, for those of you who know, when Goku and Piccolo learn how to take their driver's license test together. Everyone's like, what's that about? And I'm like, that's their friendship, their relationships coming together. And we're going to see Piccolo deepen his commitment to Goku and his family. But anyway. I
mean, when you're Piccolo and you're whatever What was the other one? It's not an instrument.
Oh,
Piccolo is an instrument.
yeah.
His buddy's not.
Oh,
violin.
Goku.
Goku.
Yeah.
Goku.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, tell me what's the overall thoughts on how we're starting off. Then let's pick our favorite moment in each one, which will probably trigger us to talk about stuff.
Hell yeah.
And then we have to get to really what is the most important part of this, namely the Requiem. Perhaps.
Perhaps. Look to my coming on the fourth morning. Look to the east.
On the fourth season, you mean?
Oh,
right before season 5, where we find out, like, you want to know why stuff was so tight at the battle with the last alliance? I know why. Because somebody comes back with a vengeance.
Let's go.
That's what we're doing in the end. We got to talk about Waldreg at the end.
Yeah.
Also, he should have more freedom now to come on the podcast. Or maybe the reason he hasn't responded yet, despite our reaching out, is because Waldreg knows that he's coming back in season 5 as a resurrected Superlord. That might be the place where we find out that he's actually the bad blue wizard we were looking for. You know,
he signed a bunch of NDRs. Jeff has just signed a bunch of NDRs. He can't do it. You know,
he's like, I kicked cancer's butt, and now I'm about to stick it. Maybe he has like a one-on-one with Glorfindel in season 5.
Oh, shit.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's what they decide, how they hook it to be like, this is the prequels for the movies. Where was Glorfindel in the movies?
He was dealing with Waldreg, you know,
Yeah.
and
he was already taken out by Waldreg.
Oh,
That's the
damn.
big reveal.
Damn.
Is it the reason Glorfindel's not in the movies, and why Tom Bombadil is who knows where Tom Bombadil is in the movies? He's not there. Maybe Waldreg is we're supposed to think he's dead, but really that wolf was like, goes up to Waldreg, is like, "Row," and you think he's eating him, but really he's going, "Sauron has a mission for you," in wolf speak. And Waldreg's like, "What is it?" He's like, "There's a fella. He likes to sing in rhyme. Not just that. Sauron, he was a guy." Was like, all of a sudden the wolf is giving him instructions.
Yeah.
Adar is like, "Where did my homeboy go?" And he's gone.
He thinks he's dead, and like you said, it was all pretend. It was all a setup.
Which, again, as people that have offered between seasons, Waldreg focused spinoffs between seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Waldreg Assassin. That's the title of it. And people are like, where did Bombadil go? Well, that's what happens in between season 2 and 3. But each time, any character that's not in the Lord of the Rings movies that's in the books, it's Waldreg taking them out.
Right.
He's just like ghosting up on them. Maybe it's just 3 episodes, all dropped at one night, just so that we can get back together before the next season. But I'm just saying, like, Waldreg Assassin. And then what season 1? Bombadilio. Bombadilino. Bombadilino.
I need a love triangle between him, Goldberry, and Tom Bombadil.
He's going to be riding a freaking, like, wolf. He's like, "You all thought he killed me. He is my stallion." All right. But that's what we're going to do at the end.
Yeah, the Tolkien purists are they'd be so happy if that happened.
No. It is like the greatest troll of all time.
Oh,
Like, in that way, they know it doesn't touch Tolkien. They love Tolkien because they're bringing in all this stuff, and you can see it there. Like, we love Tolkien, but we don't want to harm him. We don't want to mess with it. So, like, as maybe the showrunners, they're purists, so they're like, what we're gonna do is be teetotaler about the movie. And so where's Bombadil? Where's Glorfindel? Where's who else isn't in the movie? that maybe
Farmer Maggot.
Farmer Maggot. Oh, that would be sad if Waldreg killed Farmer Maggot. I bet in that season he goes to kill him, but then he realizes that Farmer Maggot is also a secret assassin, and they're in the same club, and they like have an understanding.
Yeah, they're like, hey, because even Tom Bombadil's like, hey, real recognizes real, and Farmer Maggot, he's got that.
Yeah, Maggot. Maybe that's the show between season 4 and season 5. Is the Maggot prequel, which is just called Larva.
Prequel.
It's just called Larva.
Larva, stop.
Oh, teaching with magic in the comments brings up Lady Goldberry. We know Lady Goldberry's got to show up because, I mean, not that we've even seen Tom yet. You're right. I see. This is right. No one could assassinate Farmer Maggot. Maybe that's how Waldreg gets his comeuppance. Right there is they're like took out Glorfindel,
and the only one who can stand against Waldreg is Farmer Maggot.
Like he comes sneaking in, and it's like everyone else he's like taking out all sneaky like or whatever. And Maggot just like turns around and pimp slaps him right across the face, and Waldreg falls down and just dies of shame because he was like, I just got maggoted.
And then Farmer Maggot just takes his little basket of mushrooms and just dumps it on him,
chokes him with mushrooms. Oh God! All right. All right, we're going to zone back into the actual TV show.
Yeah,
because I actually really liked it.
Yeah, me too.
All right. And yeah, no one suspects Farmer Maggot. But we know that guy rolls deep. We know he rolls deep. He knows things. And I mean, he's like he's like the Inspector Gadget of Middle Earth, you know? You're just where he's like go maggot hoe, go maggot rake, and
go maggot dogs, you know?
Yeah, the dogs. Like, do you wonder like whoever stares down like ring wraiths and their nasty horses all screeching and stuff? Maggot's just like, man, I ain't got time for this. Do you want me to send my dogs on you? And they knew what was up, right? They didn't like when they show up at Bree.
Yeah.
They kill people or make them work for them. That's how it works.
Right. And like you said, he's rolling deep and rolling tough. Like it's just what Farmer Maggot does.
Dropping larvae all over the place.
If you're welcome, everybody. Talk to your agents. Get us connected to Prime Video.
Yeah. We're open. Each season. Waldreg special. Maybe they could be holiday specials.
Yeah,
you could even add
the
some Christmas.
like the
Waldreg's
Ewok.
got hat. He's got a hat. Life Festival from Star Wars. That's what we tell them. Like we promised it to be better than the Star Wars special.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, episode 1. What? Like when you watched episode 1, what was the wowza moment of episode 1?
I think my favorite moment was when they think that Círdan has thrown away the rings, and we go to Linden, and Ben Walker, who plays the actor who plays Gil-galad, is singing the death hymn, basically in Quenya. Is doing the El Dali, like that sent me so hard. I've been listening. That's been my repeat song, and then everyone like there's this lament. The trees are looking dead. We're going to Valinor, and guess what? Sauron's back. Everyone's screwed, and then all of a sudden, Círdan comes along, and Elrond's not happy. But then Círdan and Gil-galad put on their rings, and then Galadriel puts on Narya,
because it bounced down.
Nenya, sorry, rather Nenya. Yeah. And then everything starts growing again. The light of the tree that kind of looks like Laurelin from Valinor in the First Age. It was just everything about that scene. I was like, I want to live there. I want to go there. I want to experience the renewal of the elves of Beleriand. Yeah. That was my favorite.
Oh yeah. It was I loved it, like, and Círdan, like, with his, like, I'm so old I got stubble.
Oh yeah.
Look, perfectly rolling on those long hair waves. I think they actually did, like, a really cool job introducing a character that was barely in the original trilogy. So we know he's not on Waldreg's hit list, which is good. But had a more prominent role. And if you didn't know Círdan, and Elgin watched it and was like, well, why is he getting all, like, lusty eyed, right? With looking out over the water. It's easy to explain. Like, everything I said, he's like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And, like, why does Elrond show up and, like, think everyone's going to listen to what he says if he's not going to be listened to by the king? And I'm like, no. The king's one thing, but he's been sitting here.
Level.
Yeah, he's been sitting here forever, right? Like, he's older than everyone else. He's running their escape plan. He's the only one that even knows what's up on building a ship that'll get them out. Like, he's kind of like if the Speaker of the House was also the only person that could use nukes, and he had access to the internet. Like, he could mess with the internet. So, like, if Elon Musk and this was the Speaker of the House, but not Elon Musk, someone with, like, large amounts of, like, money. He's smart in certain areas, and he got lots of money and power, access to, like, satellites, sending people to space, all that kind of stuff. And then power with the government, but it's not like they're not, like, in the executive branch, but they're, like, the first call out of the executive branch, Speaker of the House. But that means they also have more avenues to get it done. So then Elrond is like, I'm going to go hide up under this bridge. I'm going to creep up Greyhaven style. And Círdan, the shipwright's going to be like, he's going to be like, look, I need to holler at you. Do we need to call in? We got to call in some wisdom here. And what's fascinating to me is, one, I couldn't tell exactly what happened. And I've watched it a number of times on the ship. Like, that moment was big, right? Like, that he doesn't toss him. But,
right.
Like, is this one of those things where, like, Eru Ilúvatar's running up, Sauron's got his vibe up, or he's just like, maybe not? And because when the first scene where Elrond's in there, he's like, what you're carrying's louder than the sea. And he doesn't mean the sea like, oh, it's low tide, so the waves aren't here. He means the sea like what's between him and where he's wanted to go. And yet, because his vocation as an elf, building the ships, helping everyone get home kind of thing, he hasn't gone. And whatever's in your pocket is louder than that. So Homeboy's come alive. You can see he's got this smile up on his piece and stuff. And then Elrond, who, like, if I picked my favorite interactions, well, other than Poppy showing up, Poppy just showing up made me so happy. I was just like, oh, finally Poppy's. I don't want one Hardfoot running around. I need a dynamic duo. So our Sam shows back up. Yes. She knows how to use a map. Great. That was like, it just made me happy. But the Galadriel talking with Elrond stuff, where he's just like, you're still sitting on Sauron's finger. Everyone here is getting all lusty for power. This is a problem. And he's like, who has perspective that hadn't been a part of this story to tell me what's up? And then so when Círdan's like, oh, Um, you know, have you considered what we could do good with this? And this isn't your enemy that has it; it is your friends. And I'm like, oh, because I've had this whole weird thing with the elf rings were made first. Sauron was in the room but didn't touch it. And so, what's the deal? How are they functioning? And he has the kind of authority as the oldest and wisest of the elves to be like, no, that stank ain't on it, but it might be on you. Elrond's right. Like, it might be on you. Like, that junk might be up in your mind, but the rings aren't inherently got that Sauron stank.
Right. Ooh.
That's the way I took it.
No, I like it. And hey, Brad. But I love that the way that you talked, because last week you talked more about Círdan in depth and just his vocation and what he sacrifices and all the things he does. And like you said, even if you're unfamiliar with that, it seems like they're setting it up. They communicated those vibes for people who know. And I think it's going to set it up nicely to get there. And we have to remember too that Círdan is one of the few people who's actually seen the Silmarils. Okay, and the Silmarils were the most beautiful things ever created by any hand that wasn't immortal. And even then, even the Valar were like, dude, can we just like hold these things? Like, we just want to, like, these are amazing. Mm-hmm. And Fëanor was like, hell no, back off. I will kill anyone who touches these. Does the oath, screws everything up.
And he's like Celebrimbor's grandfather.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so
And that's
Fëanor,
the guy, if you aren't like, he's the one that Sauron is like, I'm the giver of gifts. Look at me with my gold hair. We're gonna build these things. I'm gonna touch the mithril behind my back and stick it in here for the. That guy, the one he's working with, lost his really nice bottle of wine. That guy, the one he's wanting to like try to keep pace with is his granddad.
Yeah,
he's like, I want to make something that makes the people pop.
Makes the people pop. Yeah. And he sees that, and I think that there's a dual thing, because Tolkien does this where beauty isn't inherently bad, but it comes with a sort of price where it induces this desire to control, to own. And I think we're seeing some of that. Like, Círdan hasn't been corrupted. Like, they're doing good with the three rings, but I think we're going to see more, probably of the corruption stuff and people getting super into that. But we start off with them being wise about it, I think. And also, just an aside for the deeper into the lore, I think that Elrond having this relationship with Círdan and hearing this, who's the shipwright who takes people to Valinor. Elrond's dad was Eärendil, who Eärendil, if you don't know, during the First Age was a mortal man, married an elf, and decided to build a ship called Vingalot, went to Valinor, and he wasn't allowed to do that. And he said, hey, Morgoth is messing everything up. Please come save us. And the Valar were like, yeah, you're cool. We'll come do this. He's got a Silmaril. Eärendil does. And so, like, cool, thanks for hooking us up. You're going to be Venus, and you're going to have this, the jewel on your ship forever to go across the sky. And so Elrond already talked about his dad with Durin. And so we're seeing all this stuff about, like the sea and what's really keeping him from this call to Valinor, this desire to be with his dad too. And also the founder of Numenor is Elrond's twin brother, Elros, who Ilúvatar gave Elrond and Elros a choice to be human or elf. Mm-hmm. Elros chose human, the line of Númenóreans, and then Elrond chose to be an elf, and now he's wrestling with his loss of family, and now what do we do with power? Círdan will know what to do. Yeah.
Which is why there's all that in season 1 when Galadriel's up in hanging out with the Númenóreans and goes to the Hall of Lore. Is like, she's talking about these people like we all hang out, right? And of course Númenóreans live a long time, but they aren't like elves. They're like, you knew Ariandel, and it's like she could have been like, yeah, I'm besties with his son. You know, the one that chose right to go elf, not show up here. We all go screwing junk up, forgetting elvish ways, doing that stuff, playing with y'all's weird Palantir, just getting all up of those crazy lights, like it's a Minority Report scene up in Middle Earth. That was the weirdest part of the entire.
That was very weird.
Yeah, but episode two, Nick. All right, I'm going to give you a couple options here. You're going to tell me,
okay?
Because I have 3 favorites, so you can pick your favorite, and then I'll pick one of the others. Because number 1, I already mentioned it, Galadriel's vision, creepy AF. We already got taunted about some spoilers just because look, Celebrimbor might be a Bannerman. We don't know what war he's going to yet and how it'll go down. But nonetheless, that vision, and then the interrupts that scene. Like, what is the commander of the North? I like that. Second, look, I just love. I love Poppy and Nori hanging out and them doing their thing, and but that scene where they're discussing the stranger's name, and stuff. There's some hints there, and you're just like, oh, how's this gonna go? What's going on with it? And there's plenty of good. So and then there's where Sauron's like, let me get a new outfit on. Let me get, you know what? I'm gonna trade in some Roblox, and I'm gonna get a new skin because I need a higher sanitation grade, some pointy ears, and some fine blonde hair, because I know you haven't talked to any of your other elves, and which is shocking to me. They're probably just jealous because you made something to save everything. They didn't send even a note to tell you thank you. That's wild. But nonetheless, I'm here to help you, and I happen to be a non-located magical creature with power and wisdom, and I really hope you just assume I'm here for good. I'm a gift bringer, like all 3, like, because anyway, yeah. We're like, which tickled your fancy?
It's got to be Sauron. I think the way that they do that is probably, as far as keeping with lore, it's very close. As far as like the nature of Sauron, how he manipulates people. He even said that his name was Anatar, right? Which is only in the Silmarillion. It's in the Book of Lost Tales, maybe, but it's not in the appendices. So the showrunners had to pay. Yeah, they had to ask permission, pay a little extra, maybe. But especially the way that they did it it's so good. Where Celebrimbor at first is like, heck no, dude, get out of here. Like, I already know that you're trouble. I don't need you anymore. And of course, he's kind of like, I don't need you. And then whoever killed the messengers to try to tell Celebrimbor about, whoever, who is like, hey, guess what? These rings work. And Celebrimbor's like, why haven't I heard word in 3 days? And finally, Anatar, Sauron's like, that's pretty messed up, dude. You know what I'll do? I'm here right now, and I'll tell you what's happening. They work. You did it, and they don't want to tell you. And you're like, oh, shit. And he just it's that slow boil. It's the frog in the pot.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But this is one of those points where you just say to yourself, Celebrimbor got like, would you like some candy to get into my van?
Yeah.
It has no windows, because last time he was there, last time he was there, like, he was getting all buddy with him, buttering him up, and then he's like, do not treat with him at the end. They do their thing. He's got no other word. And he's like, well, my servant saw that he had some back scars. So obviously, if he was a victim of violence, it was probably because he's to be pitied. And then what happens next? He just like shows up and then he like tells him a story, which he revised basically all of it within the next hour. Before coming clean that he's like a super magical creature of some sort who wants to tell him stuff that it seemed odd to him that none of the other people involved had told him anything. It's one of those things that like only by timing it do you get there, right? Like when you said the pot of boiling water of like with a frog in it, where like at some point you're like, homeboy, do you know that at a certain temperature there's a phase transition where the water decides I like air and it's bad for you. And so, you know, that kind of thing's going on. But Nick, I just want to leave one little footnote here.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
You said, where did those messengers go? I think we know. Waldreg, Assassin, Season 1. This is all part of it. There's a wolf involved somewhere. What did the wolf say? What did the wolf say? And then you're like, whoa, he ate him. No. What if he was like, there's some messengers? Like that, in wolf speak.
Dude, and the bodies get dragged, and we don't know who drags them.
Yeah, well, you know who can drag meat? A man that cuts and works meat all day long, like Waldreg. You saw him on that cleaver action. He made a freaking Mordor with a sword. What do you think he's going to do? Some elves not know he's coming. He's going to drop down. He's going to have a pack of wolf friends. They're going to slaughter that junk up, and then he's just going to go larvied and then peace out.
Larvae, dude.
He's got larvied. And they're like, where'd you get that from? My buddy Maggot. We're in the same guild.
We're in the same guild.
Yeah.
He likes bacon. I like the other sorts of meats. You know, the thicker cuts.
That's why in season 3, when him and Maggot connect, it's like there's a whole like their partner season, but then it's like there's some tension. And then Maggot's like, well, I think we really got to part ways. But if you want a showdown, we can. It's like that Mr. and Mrs. Smith season, which was great. Great show. I think they really should have Geoff in the next season.
You have to shove Geoff?
Yeah.
Should bring him on.
This is street name.
Oh, who's Geoff?
Geoff Larvae.
Geoff Larvae. Old GL.
Okay, but
yeah, tell us your favorite.
I want to talk to you about the Rune stuff.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so they go to Rune. There's those masked riders that are headed off towards some magical cult headquarters. They're the acolyte they do that moth thing that reforms the dweller from season 1. The mysterious dark wizard learns of Sauron's presence in Middle-earth, but it's not the one they were searching for. Scold's moth dweller person is like, you didn't catch a stranger who we don't know who he is yet, but those tracker peeps with the faces like, oh, we're gonna go get this Istar and we're gonna do something nasty to them Harfoots. But when you're going into that whole scene, you got you have a series of these little like tower type things that are whatever, kind of elongated, whatnot. There's on the left side, there was this statue of sorts, and then inside, very kind of like Egyptian-esque vibe. the moth do some weird junk where you go, it's like kind of like if a vampire turned into a bunch of like materialized from a whole bunch of
different bats. Yeah.
Yeah, like where they like combined or something. Like it had that vibe, but like and stuff. So this is one of those places where the showrunners have so much freedom. We got essentially there's Rune, there's stuff that goes down. There are these two blue wizards, and there are different versions of how the blue wizards work out. There's stuff happened there that was really bad because there's some magic cults, there's some human sacrifice and bloodletting. There's some battles going on out there that if they weren't going on and business hadn't been going down there, Lord of the Rings stuff wouldn't have worked out because Sauron would have had more forces. So, like, we know those things. You may have more in your head that you know, but like with what we had and then knowing we're going to Rune this season, they got to like deliver. And to me, if I'm going into this season and they're kicking it off, and when we go to Rune, my favorite thing isn't just that Harfoots are being cool. It's like, oh, I know nothing about this, and I'm still intrigued and don't think this is a let up. I'm excited. That got me pumped.
Yeah. I'm excited too. And I really like I like that you made like the vampire correlation, because the moths, the way that they're used, are very vampiric in the sense that they eat everything they consume, not like the sweet little moth in the Peter Jackson films that Gandalf uses to, like a Harry Potter owl.
It's a solo moth.
Right, the solo moth. And I think they do it and I think that we're still in this mystery box phase with the Stranger. They're doing that to throw us off, to make us like, oh, it's a callback, which I think it is, but not in the way that we think. I don't know what. So I think in Rune, what we're going to have, we've got, my theory is that it's the Blue Wizards. I think it's the Blue Wizards. I think they're trying to do the Gandalf Saruman stuff to throw us off with the moths and all that. Just because Sauron was the head of the White Council at first.
He can't be a baddie that goes good and then goes bad again, unless he gets killed and then gets his character reset, right? Like maybe if we use the Gandalf comes back and now he's the white thing, Saruman gets taken down, but then how would he end up in charge of the council? He would
That's
have
what
to
I'm saying.
not
He'd have to be punished. Yeah.
He had to go to timeout. He has to do what Saruman didn't want to do.
That's right.
Saruman's like, oh, I could go to timeout. No, I'm going to be a black goo and suck up some insects until I get a hold of a Southerling on a old lady on a running around trying to get to market.
So sad. That's
then I'm going to come out like an Abercrombie model.
That's Oregon Trail right there. That was the worst case of dysentery ever.
It was Oregon Trail. Yeah, except this dysentery didn't come out. It came in. It was almost like it was Maiar turned bad larvae.
Oh, gosh. I don't know how far we're going to get, and I can't remember with Rune, if it's Rune or I think it is the Easterlings. I don't know if it's the South, the Haradrim. I can't remember off the top of my head, and it may even be after the fall of Numenor, but there's a group of Numenorians who later, not only are they with Sauron, so there's right now we have two factions. Right now we've got the Kingsmen, who are all about rejecting elves and preserving manhood or whatever, and then we've got the elf friends who are trying to return back to tradition and stay friends with the elves and remember the Valar. Later on, they're called the Black Numenorians, and they basically team up with Sauron and all his allies. And so I don't know if they're going to lay the foundation for that, if we're going to see like Rune become like this seed bed for that, and we're going to see, whatever the Saruman like wizard try to convince the Gandalf Istar to join and all that stuff. And I think what my guess is we're probably going to see the stranger, leave with our little Harfoot friends, join up later with the good Numenorians, the elves, and I think we're probably going to see, at least at first, our Saruman like wizard is going to be teaming up with Sauron in the baddies. Yeah.
Okay, did this cross your mind at some point in this episode when you're like, this is not Saruman, it's a blue wizard, therefore the blue other stranger is probably a blue wizard. There's nothing to go on this. What did not happen in any of the Lord of the Rings films or in the books, but in the Lord of the Rings film that everyone wanted to see? A straight up fight between two wizards. This has got to be set up, right? Like, all we got was Saruman doing Gandalf nasty. He got trapped, stuck up in this thing, and then he escapes and stuff. If I was making a TV show and they were like, you do this thing, it's on my post-its of cool junk that has to happen. You're like, is there a way we could get two wizards to just go like balls to the wall, nasty fight? And which means you can't have Radagast. And then you're like, do you want to go Gandalf and Saruman? Like, no, because like you got to have him turn bad. You got to have why did my friend do this? Like, Gandalf just looks like an idiot if this is Gandalf and Saruman they're like, wow, it'd been 1,000 years. I forgot that he could start cutting people's hands open and rematerializing his baddies. With moth mixed with blood, so I just didn't expect this junk. I should have told you earlier about So, like, the moment you're gonna have there's like 2 of 5 with no details. We got them sitting here. We need a battle. We need it to be all close, going back and forth, and at some point, Poppy just about to get taken out, and the stranger is like, "I am not Gandalf." And just whaps him around, with whatever his magic junk is. Maybe an eagle. He throws him over there, and the eagle grabs him and throws and drops him in that big trench that Círdan was like. If you go down in that, you're in timeout for a while.
Right.
Who knows? But I'm just saying, like, all I knew when I got done with this, I was like, we're getting a wizard fight at some point. Like, we're getting a real deal wizard fight. In this season, Gil Galad is going to pull he's going to pull his spear out. There's a big ass troll that is pissed, and Junk's going to go down. There's going to be a siege or whatever, and they're going to say, like, at what point are we going to level this up? You know how you level it up?
Wizard fight with little bitty Harfoots running around to save, and he's going to take a wizard blow or whatever. He's like, I am friend, thinking back to season 1. Oh, yeah.
Take down the other one. They're both going to go to timeout, get sent back, show up 2 seasons later. This is they both get sent in a timeout. So season 3, wizard battle, they both die. They're both in season 5 again because it has to set up that they're going to do whatever they need to do. So Sauron's running interference. It's going to be like straight up like Luke and Darth Vader. You're nonviolent, taking one for your friend, turn the other Istari, and then you're just like, no wonder the blue wizards were running interference. No wonder they were just like, Saruman then turned on us. We got to help Gandalf out, make space for the ring bearer, and we're gonna see it. It's gonna be episode 6, Return of the Jedi style, turning the bad bluey to the goody. They get sent back, and now they're just like Carolina Blue wizards.
Carolina Blue.
They're just like down to take out the baddies. This is my theory. Mostly because I also want a wizard battle.
I'm with you.
See what a wizard battle is going to look like,
dude. I mean, if you spend all that money on like the moth CGI, come on, you're gonna absolutely do it. We're gonna get a mentor relationship I think, like you said, that he's going to be taught. There's going to be this weird manipulation where he's going to be like, "Oh, of course your Harfoots can stay with us, no problem." And Poppy and Nori are going to be like, "I think we should get out of here." And and the stranger's like, "It's fine. We're Istari, all this stuff." And then, of course, then at the last minute when he's like, "Guess what? I'm going to manipulate you into my little cult," and he's like, "No." And then, like you said, shit's going to go down later where they might take each other down. I agree with that. I think that's a high plausibility.
Yeah. I don't know how Waldreg fits into it yet, but maybe he shows up after the battle and he's like, "Have you considered using your magic for fireworks?" It's like, just a hypothetical. I was talking to my friend Farber Maggot the other day.
And he's got this black powder. He's been rocking it. And then Gandalf, fireworks. And Saruman's like, "You know what? I could blow up some walls with that stuff."
Yeah. What went through your head when Twitter was shocked that there are female orcs and they reproduce?
I think mostly people who are shocked are probably people who just have only seen the Peter Jackson movies, which is fine. But the cool
It's
part,
fine.
It's fine.
You said it to it positive. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
I really will I would love for everyone to read the books. Obviously, I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't think you're not a Tolkien fan or anything like that. But you miss out stuff like orc families. Orc families that's actually more canonical than what happened in the Peter Jackson films. The Peter Jackson films, they kind of do this thing where they come out of the earth or whatever. It's cool, looks awesome. But what Tolkien, he came up with a bunch of different versions, but what's in official canon in the Silmarillion is that orcs were tortured elves, and what happens is that they reproduce, and which means that they have family units of some sort. They've got, obviously, we're seeing with Adar that they have cultural norms, they have religious, rites for in funerals and stuff like that. So I just want to be like, hey, y'all, this is shocking. This is weird, orc babies. I get it, but also read the Silmarillion. Read the Silmarillion.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, like, the orc babies, the orc baby was still cute.
So cute.
It was cute. And I'm just saying, like, the orcs are sitting there, they aren't interested, right in the prologue, of, a lot of us need to go die for what Sauron's agenda is here. And then that family tie thing is sitting there with Adar's pressure point, right? Like, he would be like, "Oh, we have our own land," but since Sauron's still around, now he's getting lusty to go take stuff out. He's getting that warlust on. And so there's like this parallel between like Adar, Sauron, he's got to take him out. He needs closure. And Sauron in the prologue is like, "Oh, we're gonna get closure and we're gonna go do this." So like they both have the same kind of flaw. And
yeah.
you know what would happen if the flaw you see in both of them, I don't know, hypothetically, was to be like intensified. Perhaps if someone was to wear a ring where it both enabled you to have powers that correspond to your personhood, but also desires for power and claiming of such prestige that create predicaments.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I'm like, it makes you think maybe that very form of power dynamic is not good for personhood and leads to the eradication of babies, and even including orc babies.
Right.
Or perhaps little intings. Come on, the end of that third episode.
Dude, they sprinkled that so good, because when I saw the axe throw, I was like, "Oh, that was Arondir," or wait, yeah, right? No. Who was with him? It was
Theo.
Rondir, right?
It was Theo and a. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought Theo, because Theo runs away, and then he gets picked up. Yeah, I thought Theo threw the axe at first, and then when I see everyone kind of like just being kicked around, and then Theo gets picked up, I was like, oh hell yeah, here are the ants right here.
Yeah. No, episode 3 had 3 big surprises. One, we have to get verified that was an ent or an ent wife.
Yeah,
But these people were just like chopping wood, which is just like, that's like bringing beef jerky to a vegan convention. So, like, that if they're around, junk's getting awkward, and then the forest is getting smashed around. Obviously, if there's a volcano, that doesn't help. So they're probably already escalated. Then you throw in third big reveal. The eagle shows up. The eagle, less successful than potential ents or ent wives. Eagle shows up, is like, Muriel's awesome. She's down with the elves. Let's do this. But she happens to just be blind. And so Farazan's like, I guess if you need, I will go ahead and take control. And since no one knows how to talk to them, the eagle's just like, this is confusing.
this is not what we wanted.
Yeah. There was a very funny, Twitter video that put in captions for the eagle.
Yeah, you sent me that.
Yeah,
It's
and I laughed
fantastic.
so hard. But if you're me, who has this on a shirt and a cast iron version of it on their wall, the most exciting reveal was Narvi,
Oh yeah,
who just shows up randomly in the dwarves, kind of letting people into during the Third's council. And we know who Narvi is because in Lord of the Rings, he's a dwarf who works Celebrimbor to put up speak, friend, and enter. Come on, entrance. And I'm just saying, no, yeah, you're right. He does get the Horn of Gondor. I really hope, one, introducing Narvi, great call. But also, Celebrimbor does the like, oh, I came up with this cool like night riding. I should clearly use this for something. I'm just like,
I loved that.
I'm like, yes, you can. Yes, you can use that. And in my head, I was like, where's the payoff? Where's Narvi at? Boom. He shows up. Because last year was only 2 episodes that initially dropped. The third, I realized it was because they wanted everyone to meet Narvi.
Oh yeah,
And I was like, this is awesome. But, okay, well, there was also the reveal of Damrod, which he just looks like he's ready for a spear.
he's legit. I thought he was kind of gonna be kind of goofy because I'm not gonna lie, like just himself, you're kind of like he kind of looks like a goofy little CGI little orc guy, troll guy, and he shows up and you're like, this guy could be terrifying. I'm kind of convinced that he's terrifying.
I have not seen a picture of him that made me think he looked goofy. He mostly looked like, the where in where Frodo gets stabbed.
Yeah,
And the movie, and you got like a nice little cave troll doing that. This guy looks like he could smack 5 or 6 of them around for kicks and giggles.
oh, his voice is crazy. The skull's hanging on.
Yeah. I really feel like if they want to like really level up his intimidation factor, they should just invent that trolls like slap battles, right? And Damrod shows up. There's somebody that's just been like slapping trolls. Like somehow my algorithm decided to show me lots of these videos recently. But
Oh, like the slap competitions.
yeah, which they creep me out every time, but I can't not watch them. And I'm like, I don't want to watch this. And I'm like, I don't like this, but they keep showing them to me, and then there's always just somebody that just slaps somebody in the head and they just pass out. And I'm like, that seems like something trolls would like.
Yeah.
And I feel like a way to really establish Damrod is maybe there's like a little skirmish and some trolls are like, bah, bah, we're being all troll. Like, this is great. And they're just bored, maybe like chomping on like a horse leg. And they're like, let's have a slap battle. Troll slap battle. And bop, bop, bop. And then they're like slapping each other around. And then Damrod shows up. And he just like slaps and the head flies off. And the other's like, ooh. And you're like, oh, what is someone going to do with this? And you're like, Gilgalad's got a spear.
Or maybe Waldreg shows up later.
Okay.
And
Whoa.
is able to slap Damrod back. Damrod just slaps this guy. His helmet flies off. It's a slow turn.
And he just smiles. Waldreg's just like...
just slaps him back.
What if Waldreg took the slap and was just like... shakes the finger. And Adar's like, Waldreg, you can't do this. It's like, you're Waldreg the assassin. You can't slap anyone. Like, you're why Tom Bombadil's not in the movies. You already slapped Glorfindel. What is a Damrod slap?
Yeah, at this point your kill count is too high, you know.
You're gonna have to dial it back. Magic the Gathering's gonna have to redo the entire set of Lord of the Rings cards because they don't have a Waldreg.
Post Malone's gonna trade in his 1-for-1 Rings of Power card for the Waldreg
like,
card.
Can we trade the ring for the Waldreg pimp slap?
the Waldreg pimp slap.
Oh, that's very amusing to me. The question is, if he still hasn't appeared by the 4th season, will we still have stuff to say about him every episode? I'm optimistic.
Me too.
All right. So for the other two things in episode 3, okay, let me ask us a question. Farazan has got his creep up on, but we know his creep goes new levels, right? Where he's like rolling up, no knock, no request to be present, right into Mariel's room, trying to get her to change clothes. Which, like at the very beginning, if you're a queen and somebody's rolling up, trying to offer you clothes and telling you what to do, you should just be like, I can tell you where to go.
Right.
O-U-T. For some reason, well, she's not very aggressive. She gets smacked and then passes on it and goes hugs it out with the lady. And you know, you just got to tell her, like, permissive parenting, junk slides into chaos. You know, at some point you got to plant a foot somewhere, and just because you can't see ain't an excuse not to plant no foot. But
yeah, don't come in here telling me what clothes I should wear, and don't be slapping me.
Yeah, I'm none of this business. I can be nice, but I can't be no step stool. Farazan, though, on the other hand, is just like, but you could be a step stool. So when you know this story, and it's getting contracted, right?
Yeah.
Where multiple generations of leaders for the downfall of Numenor setup is happening here. Knowing the kind of complexity it's in the larger story in the Silmarillion, how are you feeling after, especially in the 3rd episode, we get so much more of what's going on in Numenor? Not just Farazan stuff, but also Muriel. She goes looking for the Palantir. It's missing because Aryan, who I guess is hanging out with baddies at a random pub in the wrong side of town.
Right.
It's just like volunteering the information and such. Like, how are you feeling about the Numenor plot line at this point?
I like, I did with Muriel's dad being alive, Tar Palantir. That probably normally the Queen Regent, not really a thing, but I think the way that they're setting up and the way that we've seen Farazan kind of come to power, I think it's to give a alternative to what Tolkien wrote. And there's a positive thing and a negative thing. The positive thing is that we don't get assault and we don't get forceful weird stuff, because in the book what happens is Farazan's like, guess what, I want to be king, I'm going to force you to marry me, which is next level creep. So that part's good. I like that they're kind of going in a different direction. The negative part is that I think there's a level of corruption that communicates of how far gone people like Farazan and them, how messed up the roots of their ideals and their ambition really goes. So I like that part. As far as like Anarion, which is Isildur's sister, who's a made up character, Elendil's daughter, who gets radicalized by hanging out with Farazan's son or whatever in the first season, and kind of comes there and she's like, these elves and all this stuff, and she steals the Palantir and uses it. That part I was kind of like, this feels kind of lame to me, but it's probably, and we still got the rest of the season, so I'm sure it'll add a level of like conflict between Elendil and he's got a tiptoe now, and it'll probably lead to when, spoiler alert, Elendil basically builds the boats to leave Numenor because he doesn't want to be part of this corrupt Numenorian thing anymore. But yeah. Oh, we got the Dark Lord in our feed here.
Oh, it's always good to have a Dark Lord around. Also, picture your least attractive version. You've got two elves that have like a little elf hotness, and then obviously your human form. Quite exciting. So if I was a Dark Lord, I would pick a different pick there. Galadriel would not be interested in that flaming pick. Nonetheless, all right. So, what did you make of Isildur and Theo's relationship and everything that's going on with the survivors post last season? Big old battle. Waldreg makes Mordor. There's collateral damage. The wake of Waldreg is just significant, which could have been obviously the subtitle of the season. I don't know if they've named one yet. The Wake of Waldreg. And you got the relationship of Theo and Isildur, and then you got the introduction of Estrid, who ends up, burning off when no one's looking, the Adar stamp. But what's going on there? Like, what are you most intrigued by?
I really like this dynamic of, because people had talked about it with, I like that Bronwyn, I don't like that she died, but I like that dimension that it gives to Arondir. I think he's kind of in La La Land, and we see that at the beginning, and the elves are like, dude, like, this stuff is messed up. Like, it goes way deeper. Like, you're old, but you're not that old. And he's like, no, it's fine. Me and this human can totally have a romance and no problem. And I don't think he understands like the true weight of loss until that moment. And I think he then tries to continue what he was trying to do with Theo in the first season, which was kind of be this pseudo father figure. And then he gets rejected hard, super hard. And so now there's this other level of loss. So, he's become the hated stepdad. He's lost this woman that he thought he loved, or the women that he loved, didn't understand death. Now he does. And, but now he kind of comes in and saves, Isildur and Estrid. And so I think we're going to see this kind of Isildur start hanging out with elves, and we're going to see that elf friend develop, and we're going to see this kind of father-son relationship maybe happen there. And I don't know what's going to happen with Estrad. I really like that there's these kind of servants. Right now, they're Adar servants because they've got the mark of Sauron, but Adar's using it. And so I like that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm pumped though.
Yeah. I don't know. The way I read the scene, like based on her like face and stuff, it was more like, I'm embarrassed I got this, not like,
interesting.
oh, I'm trying to be sneaky and remove it.
Okay.
At first I was like, oh, she's trying to be sus. And then I thought she thought this is the only place she could have a connection or whatever, right? So let me just go along with all this because I don't want to get stabbed by some orcs. And then whatever happens for the escape, who knows whether she escaped or was another plant or whatever. But like that, her kind of connection to Theo and seeing that there was life on the other side of that whole tragedy, she's like, Sss. She was like, let's go to Sizzler, you know? And I mean, in that situation, right? Like, wouldn't it be better just to be like, this is what happened to me? Because if you're just like randomly have like a big burn mark on your back on top of another burn mark, and you're like, well, this is interesting. Where'd this come from? Like, or you'd be like, well, I was that one time Waldreg made a volcano. And it hit me. Right?
And it hit me.
That's Waldreg's fault. You know Waldreg? Yeah. I never trusted him. Me neither. Why didn't you trust him?
If you're the Sauron.
And I'm like, what? I have. But that doesn't mean I want to hang out with him on weekends.
He's like, why don't you come to my barn? I'll show you where this sword hilt. I got to show you.
There's a loose piece of wood on the floor. And I want you to wiggle it till it pops up and then seize the hilt underneath and let it suck blood from your arm.
I'm in. You know, that's it. Okay. That's the point. Yeah, I'm in.
That's how you get in the Waldreg 15-passenger van. Like some people after candy. Waldreg's like, would you like the hilt of my sword to suck blood from your arm? And they're like, actually, I'm kind of interested. Like, curses. Farmer Maggot told me no. It's creating tension that in 3 seasons we might part ways over such things. Oh, man. Okay. So the very end of at the very end of the 3rd episode is the forging of the dwarven rings, or maybe at least the first one. I couldn't tell based on the setup if this is like, oh, we're going to drop all the dwarven rings up in here, or we're just going to do one. But Anatar does his little sneak, putting his juju on that mithril. Or, here's another question. Did he trade it out? Did he, like, keep it? Because he's going to go forge the one ring with a bunch of this later. Because obviously, like, once he realized that it was just folklore, that the Cimmerils were involved in mithril, he was like, well, I guess if the Cimmerils aren't involved, I gotta have concentrated mithril ring for my one ring. So he's just stealing it and then sneaking in some Sauron ore. It's like, this is my Sauron ore. I'm gonna sneak this in here. He either put his juju on it or he's stealing it, because he did a little spin around. You couldn't really tell.
Right. I love, just thinking about that. I think that especially with the dwarves coming to Eregion so soon, that I think that especially we've got hints in the trailer that, during the 3rd is like real into having that ring. and to the point where, during the fourth is like, Dad, like, calm down. And I think that we may even see, because we already know a Balrog's coming, and that Balrog name is Durin's Bane. And I think that Sauron's probably going to utilize Sauron or Durin's Bane potentially, where he's going to probably be hanging out. He's going to be like, hey, if you like those rings of power, I'm going to need more mithril, And then at some point when Moria falls, Durin's Bane's going to show up, kill Durin, and Sauron's going to get the ring and get a shit ton of mithril and hightail it back to Mordor. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun that during the fourth, the one who was never a ghost,
Boo.
He brought back up during the third suspicion, right? Last season during the third is like, to his son is like, maybe Elrond's up here trying to creep up on this piece and has an agenda. And he's like, that's not what my friend would do. And then Sauron is like, do you want a cool ring of power? We're obviously producing these currently, and during the third's like, give it to me. And during the fourth is like, I mean, if you'd seen this guy, Dad, I mean, he's like he's the kind of guy in the fifth age who would have a 15-passenger van with no windows, running around with some ring pops, saying, hey, kitty, you want to go for a ride? I got a ring pop for you. And they're like, do you have a sour one? He's like, oh, it's sour.
Sauron.
All right, you win. That's sour. Oh man, this is bad podcasting because that's funny. Okay, yeah. I don't even.
Sorry.
No,
but yeah, I agree. Everything you're saying is
sour on
Thanks, Richard.
the ring pop energy.
But yeah, like you said, this weird, even at the first season, right? During the third is like, hey, be more tactful, be more mindful, all this stuff. And during the third, it's like, during the fourth, it's like, yeah. Chris, that's fair. And, but like you said, now it's switched where we're going to see Anatar, which the thing that during the fourth knows that he's like, dude, I already know he's a liar because Elrond would never say the things that he's like, oh, Elrond says you're the wisest of the dwarves. He's like, he would never say that. What the heck? So I already knows he's a liar.
He's trying to screw with his friend vibe.
Yeah.
It'd be like if someone was like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Trip too, Nick. He said you have a mediocre beard, and you're gonna be like, whoa, I had a mediocre beard. I'm pretty sure he told me this was Doran vibe,
right?
And so, I mean, there's a number of Durans, but like none of them have mediocre beards, so I don't trust you.
Yeah, I guess too because we're on Duran and leaders and stuff. One of the questions, because you're a professional philosopher of religion, before we go, I want to know. So throughout the season, or the first 3 episodes, especially at Sauron, his first speech in the prologue, he's up there making hand motions, and it's like very slow, very deliberate, where his fingers are kind of touching. I'm pretty sure that even when Durin the third talks to his son at some point, kind of does the same thing. I think Adar does the same thing too. And a lot of that stuff is in like Christian iconography and, and also in Buddhist art and iconography too. And so I wanted to get your take. Do you think that's a thing? Am I reading too much into it? And if I'm not reading too much into it and they're doing that, what could they be hinting at? Like, what's going
Ooh.
on?
I don't know. Like, I mean, weird hand motions with your fingers. It's not just saints. Politicians do it too, right? Like, I think it's one of those.
Right.
Like Clinton and Bush both did the like weird thumb thing. Like, there's all these little hand motion things
Yeah.
that are there. Uh, I read it as the I'm like stimming of sorts with my uncomfortable leader energy. Like, what am I doing? Because early Sauron in the prologue, right? He's not the one we know yet, right? Like you get, I'm down for the long play, lay on my side by Adar's feet and give a weirdly phrased allegiance because I'm really talking about myself with a evil smirk. Like, you get that because you spent 1,500 years as goop,
Right.
just festering, right? So the prologue is like somebody who's like not ready for prime time yet. He got Morgoth got demoted to the last battle. He stepped up, clothes didn't fit. Adar's like not just the clothes, but also the crown. And he's like in slime form. And so I think that's going on there. That's how I read it.
Okay.
The hand motions are going that way, but mostly because when it goes to iconography elements, and if the reference is iconography elements and not like that politicians have weird hand things
Yeah.
that could signal like when they're uncomfortable, saints, religious figures, the hand motions are intentionally symbolic, right? They're supposed to direct your attention in particular ways or signal maybe like moments in a liturgical cycle, poses for contemplation, and there wasn't like anything in the shots or in it where they like held it in that position, or the thing like zooms in on it. Think of all the play with seeds, both like the before a battle we plant this seed, like the seeds we need to use for healing. All the times, like if that's a thing, there's always like a zoom in, there's like a pause, there's like a breath on it. And the cinematography wasn't like, let's spend some time on the hand motions.
Right.
But sometimes with politician, hand motions become a thing because you're like, what am I paying attention to? Like, it becomes this. But I could be wrong.
No, I like that. Because they didn't do a lot of focusing. Because, like you said, if it was, maybe somebody would be holding it for a long period of time. Like you said, and maybe somebody would zoom in or like an angle, like they show like the upper body, the hands. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Chris in here was asking about Disa beard hair. And I haven't gone back to check. He asks, is it me or did Disa have way more beard hair this season than she did in season 1? I know people are giving Amazon crap for not giving female dwarves beards. I didn't go back to look at season 1 to see how different it was, but she definitely had like the right kind.
Right.
But
I guess I don't think so.
I felt like that it existed last year, but maybe the density is different. But we also saw her like when she didn't get her, they weren't running on that prince and princess dime. Maybe she was getting waxed more often in season 1 because the Durans hadn't had they hadn't broke up.
Right. From what I can see from the angles, I don't think they do. I think it's kind of the same. There's some angles that it looks like she has sideburns, but I think it's just her hair from her wig, and it really looks kind of the same. Yeah, I don't see any more hair than last season from the images I saw, but
I always thought she had like some
That's what I thought
Dwarvish
too.
peach fuzz up in that piece.
Yeah, I kind of feel the opposite.
Like old lady, like post-menopause.
Yeah.
Like that one person at church that then like you're like, oh, it's a bit fuzzy when you kiss me on the cheek, and you're like, but you are 80.
Yeah. You're like, you might want to buy an electric razor though. It's fine. Just go for it.
I'm not saying that to nobody.
He said, I'm not saying that.
It definitely not saying it to someone, a female who doesn't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
She might call up Waldreg and have me taken care of.
Destroy you.
She's like, do you want me to slap you like Damrod?
No. Wrecked.
Oh. But I think it would be cool if they did have like a female dwarf that had such thick sideburns they were braided.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Like just dangling off each side. And maybe they even bring them together in the middle.
Tolkien talks about there being explicit inspiration from Jewish culture in the language and the culture of the dwarves. So we get maybe a little nod to the Hasidim. I don't know. That'd be kind of neat.
Oh, there you go. But if that, never mind.
Okay.
Tim is thinking ahead. I'm just sitting there going, I have a friend of mine who is Jewish.
Yeah.
And who has this joke about his grandmother's facial hair. And I've just decided I didn't want to give the whole preface in the story and tell the joke. Because we're on the internet live and there's 168 people currently watching this. And I thought I'll have to edit it out. And then Tim would be like, why did you tell that joke? And I'd be like, you don't understand.
there's context.
Have you seen Rings of Power series 2? Season 2. All right. Okay, good. Here, Chris has a question that doesn't involve facial hair. What's your favorite storyline so far? You can pick one. And we're going to assume this is a storyline that already exists because obviously between season 2 and 3 when we pick up Waldreg Assassin, that's probably like the most interesting storyline that exists in this show.
Yeah. I think just going off because I've been thinking about it a lot and it might change, but I really love the new dynamic between Gil-galad and Galadriel. I like that Gil-galad has always recognized Galadriel's talents. And at first, at the beginning of season 1, he's like, look, the reason why people are freaking out and evil's still around is basically because you keep stoking the flames. Like, you need to go to Valinor and chill out. Kind of dismissing her as kind of like this, like hysterical woman kind of stereotype. And now that Sauron's for real and Galadriel's like, what's up, King? Like, we got some for real solutions. And there's this kind of fun, playful banter between the two of them. And now Elrond is kind of like, heck no, we're not stooping to that level. And so I really like this dynamic, and I'm excited to see how their relationship develops between Galadriel and Gil-galad specifically, Elrond and Círdan, and then how Elrond kind of comes back into the fold. Yeah.
I mean, I think my favorite is knowing how big a role it's going to play is Celebrimbor and Sauron. Like, I got done with these 3 episodes and thought those 2 actors have set up to do what we know is about to go down, and their acting's great. The turn for both of them like had payoff. Like, I wasn't like, where did this come from? It seemed very natural. I'm like everything about that relationship makes me go, I'm going to be happy when 3 or 4 of the next seasons have those two, or not seasons, but 3 or 4 of the next episodes are going to have huge chunks where they're just in a room going toe to toe with weird visions and violence and playing like up fears and all that. The other storyline I'm excited about, but the one that's least hinted at, is Isildur, the use of Beric the horse to get him back involved, and then like Astrid as a character to raise this, the whole death of his mom in relation, like when he's going at what's the elf's name?
Arondir.
Arondir, and is like, you didn't know who my dad was, and I don't need to talk to you again. Right. The knowing where that character will be by the end of this series, I just thought, I was not sure about him last season. And other than the fact that in 2 weeks of plot time, he grew 9 inches. I thought this guy grew. He didn't get worse as an actor. And the way Beric shows back up has this like nice Numenor vibe of like, connected to the horse. He shares the story of his mom dying to save him that he hadn't told anyone. You got the like possible dad figure, but cutting it off, but then the like sacrifice to help, get back. Anyway, like
Theo crying in the background here.
Theo crying,
which was really, I thought it was a really good, really powerful kind of, or at least impactful moment.
Well, because you have like essentially 2 characters that are TV only, and season 5's main character sitting there, and it's like, how do these 2 hook up, throw the horse in, and then boom shakalaka? I go, they're weaving these characters great. And they had to do a pivot because the mom, Theo's mom, is like, I didn't come back, so I'm dead. Orc arrow poison, my bad. And so like, because at the end of this who is Elrond's going to be disappointed in, that the characters like getting more interesting, that it plays out with Theo. They like, you're sitting there and you're like, anytime you're dealing with like, they got the Stranger Things vibe where like random characters hit adolescence.
Yeah. In
this, obviously the Rock's son didn't have to worry about growing because he was already jacked as could be. But
the Rock's son, is that really his son, or is you just saying that because he looks like him?
No, I'm pretty sure he is. If it's not, I believed a Twitter joke and have since internalized it. Valendil is the character's name, but I'm pretty sure the guy that's playing him is actually the Rock's son.
The dude with the real curly hair, right?
The guy that looks like he should be the Rock's son.
Yeah. He's the Numenorian who got pissed at Isildur for getting him kicked off the crew.
And then got pissed in there when they were talking junk about Muriel at the bar, and he's like, "Do you want to step to this?" That little frat-tastic guy that's like trying to creep up on Isildur's sister.
Gosh, and it's working, dude. How? I'm just I don't.
Yeah.
Because even if you go back to the first season, their first interaction, she's kind of like, ooh. And I'm like, no. It's like the worst.
You're like, no basket. Like, you can't never mind. But Isildur, Arondor, and Theo's relationship is cool. I love the introduction of Astrid. And it sets up for where Isildur has these different relationship connections to each of them. A Rondor and a Sildor are both alienated from their home. Arondir hadn't been to a Valinor in forever. He was born there. He's like, you heard that play out with his Adar conversation. Isildur is now alienated from Numenor. Both of them have lost someone that was really dear to him, like Bronwyn or his mom. They're sitting there. They both have like that desire for something across the sea vibe. Then you go back to Theo, who has his like loss of the mom element, just like Isildur, but also Theo's sitting there, dadless, and Theo and Isildur both sitting there dadless, and you're like, oh, what's going to go on? Like both of them then have like this potential role that Arondir could play in it. So there's like all these little things between them, and you assume Astrid's going to keep having these connections with different ones. You might get like a nice little love triangle up in that piece, make it some tensions cray.
No doubt.
But the like short of something wild, we know how this story ends for Isildur. He clearly is older, and his acting didn't get worse. And they used Theo and Arondir, who don't exist in anywhere, to make his thing more complicated. Throw in a freaking horse relationship. And now Astrid's all coming up, burning off her stamp from Adar, because she's like, future king up in this piece. Like, I like that there's so many things about that could have gotten bad.
It's true. It's true. And so far it seems to be on the right track. And also horses, man, build a pony, Brago with Aragorn in the movies. Yeah. Shadowfax. Come on. How could I forget Shadowfax?
Yeah. Build a pony is really at the top of the power hierarchy.
Yeah. 100%.
I just want to know, why did we get a Bronwyn funeral, but no one poured one out for Antimo? They're like,
wait, which one's Antimo?
So Valendil is Rock's son.
Yeah.
You got Isildur, and they're like little buddy that was just like, this is all the fighting I need to get, and then he just gets wiped out in Waldreg's wake. And Antimo, there's been no talk about him. Also, character we need to check in on. I want to know what's up with Dilly Brandyfoot.
Yeah. The
little girl is all cute. Like, she's got 2 more years of cute on her, but she was like still young and stuff. Like, what's she doing now that, Poppy went and joined. Now she's like rolling out all by herself with Largo and Marigold. And what is she doing for friend? Maybe she needs to like, maybe she's like become friends with Malva because Poppy showed her how to read maps, and now she's helping Malva. And Dilly Brandyfoot's a little older. Or is she like sneaking out trying to find blackberries and junk? Like, where's she going? I want to know. And
I feel like at least this season, because they've already said we're going to get the stores, or at least hinted at it. And I'm like, are we, like you said, are we going back? Are the Harfoots and the stores going to connect? Are we going to get, or are we going to have to wait? Or the Harfoots even coming back?
Maybe the Ints are the connection. They don't connect this season, but you get introduced to them because the Ints are all like, we like you, but we're not going to add you to our song. Or maybe the Entwives add halflings to their song, but they never tell the Ints. And that's why when Merry and Pippin show up, Treebeard's like, we don't know about you. But after a few hours, we'll discuss it and finally add you back to our list of creatures of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. But all right, so what's the next episode that we see Waldreg?
Man, I'm thinking the second to last episode. I'm feeling like it's going to be
Penultimate.
before Yeah, the penultimate episode. I think it's going to be before season 3. I think he's going to show up in a key moment at the battle of the sack of Eregion. I think Adar is going to be all like, "Yo, what's up? I'm doing this," and Anatar is going to be like, "Oh no!" And then he's going to bail because he's Sauron, and somehow he's going to link up with Waldreg.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what happens if one of the other things that Waldreg, assassin, does is he's the one that takes out Adar? Maybe that's what the wolf was telling him. It sounded like he was being consumed, but this is a big play. But Sauron the Dark Lord in the chat, he's not gonna give us spoilers right now. But if Sauron the Dark Lord was on MySpace, we know who's right after Tom in his top 8. Waldreg, maker of Mordor, assassin, bane of of Glorfindel.
Not the bane of Glorfindel, dude.
Yeah, obviously. But you've heard it here first.
The Dark Lord telling us
the
what's
Dark
going
on. Pops Adar with
Boromir style.
Boromir style. Now that we've got that clarified, I really feel like we figured it all out.
Yeah.
Looking forward to episode 4.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, this has been fun, Nick. It's been fun,
man.
Nick. I know you were worried as to whether or not we'd have enough to say after only 3 episodes. But,
yeah. I mean, we probably gave Waldreg a good half hour, and he dies in like the first half hour, 45.
He's
or sorry, he appears to have
he
died. Yeah, he appears to.
It was not an on-screen death.
Yeah. He's coming back.
Exactly. I'm glad we
he's
have
coming
this.
back.
Yeah. Did you notice the Sauron the Dark Lord in the chat never it's never revealed what he told the wolf to tell Waldreg. So
right.
I'm glad he's keeping the suspense. He's signed that NDA.
Yeah, I'll trade Adar for Waldreg every time.
Exactly. All right. Well, we will talk to y'all next week. This has been fun. And thank you all for hanging out. I'm always amazed that somehow at the end of this, there are even more people on the stream than when we started. But nonetheless, I just hope